Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Malott with the Central Florida Development Council, and today I'm joined by Emery Smith. Emery is the Executive Vice President of Hill Griffin, Inc., one of Florida's most respected citrus and agribusiness companies. With a strong background in agriculture and operations, Emery plays a key role in supporting the company's mission of sustaining and advancing Florida citrus. Passionate about innovation, stewardship, and community impact, Emery brings a forward-looking perspective to the challenges and opportunities shaping the future of Florida agriculture. Emery is a graduate of Florida Southern College and the current chair of the CFDC. Emery, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Sean. Glad to be here.
Well, so to get us started, could you give us a quick background about Hill Griffin, Inc. and its mission?
Sure. Hill Griffin, Inc. is over 75 years old, currently in its third generation of leadership, primarily and historically a citrus company. Also have diversified over the years with Griffin Fertilizer, also have our own citrus nursery, as well as a production beef cattle ranch. So the mission is still citrus focused, but things have changed a lot over that history.
Yeah, sure. And what does the footprint of the company look like nowadays?
So today, the majority of the groves are in Polk, Highlands, and Charlotte County. Okay. The main cattle ranch is in Hardee County, so still spread out kind of in the Heartland area. Used to have some groves further out of that radius, but that's the main parts today.
That's a big area.
Yeah.
And then how did you get involved in the citrus business in particular?
I'm, like many others, born into citrus to some degree. So my father was in citrus and moved over the years into different roles, but grew up working in citrus, found a path to take, as many others did at Florida Southern, through their citrus program. And actually, one of the professors called me after graduation and said, "Hey, they're looking for somebody at Hill Griffin. You should go talk to them." Mm. I did, and started work about 3 weeks later. So I'm straight out of Florida Southern, my only job in a sense, and this spring will be 29 years.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I didn't realize that you've been with the company that long.
Yeah.
That's impressive to be able to be with one organization for that period of time. And you said your father was also in the citrus business as well, also in Polk?
Later in Polk, yes. First we're in Orange County, freezes of the 80s, pushed others down a little further south, and my family as well.
And then, as far as, being with the company, so you've evolved through that process in various positions. So where did you start within the organization itself?
I had in mind to be in citrus production in the field. The job I actually started with Hill Griffin, Inc. was in a support role of environmental, permitting, safety, a little bit of a catch-all position, but needed for, operating in today's environment. And later got into more of the fruit side. I dealt with our packing house and fruit coming in and out there, as well as the juice plants and our contracts. Later evolved into also dealing with our company real estate, properties, diversified commercial properties. So a little bit of everything today, and still get to help with fruit and some of the field things in the field, but a lot different from where I started over the years.
What do you like best about the business itself?
On the production side, I work with our field guys and our trucking. I like the logistics. I like the fruit moving and just what needs to get done to get our crops in. That's a little more fun because it's fast-paced and you've got to react and you've got to move. I enjoy working with CFDC, our other partners, as we look at property and what could be. That's a lot of fun as well. Those things are still evolving and will continue to, but those are some of the pieces that keep me busy.
Right. And I mean, really, the company is a major logistics operation when with all the pieces that have to be moved, delivered, transported. It's significant.
We do. And that's hauling our own fertilizer. We have both a liquid fertilizer plant and a dry bulk fertilizer plant. And so we're trucking those loads out to ourselves, to customers. Now that gets spread pretty far. I mean, we could have a guy delivering fertilizer to Immokalee one day and Ocala area the next. I mean, it's a pretty far spread. And then they get back and then they need to haul fruit in the afternoon. So it can be busy. And
home base is in Frostproof, Florida.
Yes, sir.
And that has always been the home base for the organization, yes. Correct? And so you've as an organization have had a giant impact on Polk County and the significance of the organization, and then the way that the company's been able to interact throughout the state and support of the Gators, of course. Sure. So huge support of Florida Gators. Thank you for your support. But really Ben Hill Griffin Inc. has deep roots in Florida agriculture. So where do you see the company's most important role in the citrus industry today?
I'd probably say preservation, and that sounds maybe odd, but we're such a smaller industry than we were 20 years ago. If there aren't growers that are continuing to replant and reinvest, we are really getting limited on certain infrastructure compared to 10 and 20 years ago. So our company is working to reset grows in this next year, 2 years, and others are as well. But there is going to have to be a continued investment to continue on with the citrus industry.
And how do you see the citrus industry evolving? I mean, there's new technology being piloted. What does that look like in the ag world today?
The part of technology that we're taking advantage of and others through help from the state, there's a program called the Craft Foundation, and that's providing funds to help replant groves. One of the things that our company is doing and others is planting CRISPR trees, and those are gene edited. So what's a CRISPR tree? Yeah, that is to go in and edit parts of a tree to allow it to be more resistant to greening. Greening, of course, is the disease that's been the biggest part of the fall of the crop in the past 20 years. And with these trees, while they're not 100% immune to greening, they are tolerant at that point. And so by planting these grows back with trees that are tolerant, that can be healthy and produce a healthy crop, that's what we need, and that's what we need more of. And so there's an effort right now to get more trees in the ground in order to keep planting grows.
And so when you say tolerant, does that mean they're more resistant to it, or does it still affect them? It's just they're easier to adapt, or how does that work?
The trees would still have greening, but yes, they're resistant to the effects, and they're not going to succumb to greening in the same way as a traditional tree would. The tree would still test positive that there's greening present, but it's still going to grow in a more normal and healthy way.
And how long does it take for a citrus tree to develop citrus or to have fruit?
The old rule of thumb was kind of 3 to 5 years. And that's still largely true. We're planting much higher density today, more trees per acre. So you get, even though the numbers haven't changed a lot, you're getting a little more fruit per acre earlier because you're putting more trees per acre. So that is the name of the game, is, you got to get production, you got to get some income coming back. And so you want to get that in those earlier 3, 4, and 5 years old.
And so are you testing those trees now, or how are you doing that?
There's a company that partnered with the technology that was developed at University of Florida, and they are moving this forward. Those trees there are trees that have been out in the field in the open, that could be, or that have been affected by psyllids and greening. They are 3 years old, so they still look good. There's still more to learn. This is still, newer technology, newer trees, but it seems to be the best option for trees to replant in the short term.
Okay. Well, that sounds very positive, optimistic. And then I've also seen the cups technology out.
Yes.
Or is that anything that you as an organization are dabbling in yet? I mean, I'm seeing it out there, but it seems like there's still a lot of testing being done.
Some companies have expanded it well, and it works. You're basically growing in a greenhouse in a safe environment for those trees. Our company's not involved in any of the cups plantings, but it is fun to watch because it's a different undertaking. It's largely fresh fruit in those structures, and that's something that not only greening, but you can help other conditions by being in that greenhouse environment.
Okay. So what would you say that sets, Ben Hill Griffin apart from other citrus companies out in the landscape of Florida?
Diversification is important, and our company has had a dry fertilizer plant back in the 50s, 60s. Okay. So it's always been able to be more in control of what was needed for the groves. The company's had a citrus nursery to provide its own trees for many years. And just having those abilities to act fast in the company's history, also had processing plants and had a packing house for most of its history. So they're just being nimble and being able to create opportunities where you can create logistics improvements and synergies is a big help.
And, my experience with the company is that they really care quite a bit about the community and community impact and what's best for kind of the broader impact of the organization when it comes to community. How does that look like from your perspective when it comes to, economic opportunities and employment and jobs for the area? How does Ben Hill Griffin Inc. look at those types of things?
I think all of the leadership roles of the three generations were very particular of wanting, and the Griffin family, wanting to provide something positive for whichever community, they were trying to benefit in. If there was a development, they want that to be a good thing. It's not about a land sale. It's about a good fit for a company, for jobs, for the community as a whole. And that's something to be proud of, something to be respected, that their family has wanted to be very mindful of how something is done and is a benefit.
Well, from my perspective, when Nucor was looking for a location for their facility and the willingness, for the company to show up and offer, again, a potential site for a company and really get involved. I mean, it's, I think the success of where Nucor is at is because the stewardship from BHG to really kind of lay that groundwork for their success. I mean, the company really embraced it, and that's your leadership. So, that has led to other things, like say the Frost-Proof Business Park.
Sure.
Tell us about that.
And that's a great CFDC story, and I know you didn't ask me to say that, but that's the truth. So by CFDC taking interest because a question was asked about property and Frost-Proof that led to being a part of the Duke Site Readiness program that led to partnering with other CFDC investor members, and then partnering with the Ruthvens on helping with sales, leasing information, marketing information. It's all partnerships, and that Frost-Proof Business Park was developed just out of good friendships and partnerships that will also be a benefit to the community. What companies are going to land there, we don't know that yet, but the effort to get it to this point to be a benefit to Frost-Proof was forged by partnerships of people just being willing to work together.
Well, that's what we've observed is just the willingness of the company be able to be there to help other companies, and really that the Frost-Proof Business Park is creating a platform for other companies to be able to locate in the Frost-Proof area in a location that has it's ready. It's ready
Yes.
for development. Near other again industrial operations within the vicinity, I think is a real asset that that the greater community is going to benefit because of the the forethought of the company to be able to put the pieces in place to be able to welcome a company. So,
and I think too, just having the openness to work with others and say, what is it that we don't know? How can we learn? And that was the Duke site readiness piece of having a site selector come in and objectively look at the site and say, okay, well, you need to work on this. Okay, this part's good. This part needs help. And being able to come back and say, okay, here's some homework that we need to do. We don't, we're largely an ag company, so we're not developers on our day job. So that where you can get help and get direction turns into something that's a good end result. And that wasn't what we started with. We started with land and ideas of, okay, where should we go from here? And that's where the support comes in. And
did you find that third-party site selector gave you that perspective to be able to give you, true input about what you need to do from a next step perspective?
Yes, very detailed, full report on what they saw. What is the benefit of the site? What are weaknesses of the site? What can you do to have it more ready? And then being able to go back with grants as well that Duke provided to do more work and say, okay, well, if you did these things, that would just be even better for a potential user of the property to come in and say, oh, you've got all these things done. And we talked about this, that it's not your site getting lifted to the top, it's your site getting eliminated from the bottom if you aren't a fit.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit more of a 101 thing once you get into that framework and see how you're being evaluated against other sites. And that was a help to say, okay, what do we need to do to be more ready?
Well, definitely appreciate BHG's willingness to play a role and be involved, because again, having that mindset is, I think, really helpful to help Frostproof grow and prosper as we move forward here in these, kind of the next of what's next for the community.
Sure.
So kind of transitioning a little bit, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in a career in agriculture in today's market?
Be open to new ideas, new things that, just like I did, what I thought my career path was going to be was vastly different over time. Still involved, still connected to the same roots that I had, but don't be afraid to take that different course, to do something a little outside of what you think is your path, because with technology and tools that are available, you have to adapt. Things that are just very different, in how we do things today versus 10, 20, 30 years ago. And that's any young person is going to be better than you and I on technology things anyways. And that's what they're going to need to do, and be able to adapt and be able to help and find solutions to problems that maybe some of the older generation hasn't thought of or doesn't know the technology to use to tackle a particular problem.
Now, what are there other technologies that you're utilizing when it comes to, looking at the grove and assessing health? And are there other tools and technology they're using from that perspective?
There's probably something in each facet of what we do that's different and more data driven than it used to be. Whether it's in our nursery, how fine-tuned they can feed new plants and how they can measure things much more precisely than in the past. How we can apply fertilizers and crop protection materials more precisely than in the past, and how you track that and get data from the field. I would say all of it has changed and is going to continue to do so. Yeah,
I hear that term of precision agriculture,
right,
which I guess it's about, be able to properly measure and proper dosing and whatnot when it comes to the, all the measurements that are involved.
Sure.
So, looking ahead 5 to 10 years down the road, what do you hope people will say, about the business at that time? What do you see in the future of ag?
I hope citrus is still looked upon as a survivor. That's probably the best word I could use, I think, at this point, because we are just challenges from hurricanes to freezes that we've just had this past weekend to any number of things. But the disease pressure to where we are today, citrus is continuing to try to be here, but it really is a challenge in today's environment, mostly from the disease pressure side. But it's farming. You have market problems, you have weather problems, you're always going to have challenges. So I hope that we're still talking about how we're advancing and growing and expanding citrus over the next 5 to 10 years. And some of these new tree technologies will be the proof of that.
Yeah.
That it's still a little bit in the, I don't want to say experimental stage, but it's still in the youth of this part. And that's the part that we hope that will be the next generation of trees that will actually be expanding.
Well, citrus has been so incredibly important to the economy of Florida. I mean, I am encouraged when we visited a flavors and essence business recently to learn that citrus is in most of, really combination of perfumes and other types of beverages, that there's elements of citrus to be able to create flavoring. So the flavoring and essence business, I know, is extremely, know that citrus is extremely essential to what they do.
Sure. Yeah, that's been a part of the recovery of citrus is the oil. You can use all of the orange. There's oil in the peel, the pulp, and kind of the waste of the orange, if you will, once it's processed, can be made into cattle feed. It's all used.
Well, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to highlight about the business or operations?
I think go back to the CFDC part and just the ability to partner with others outside of your industry. I'm not going to say we know what we're doing on citrus, because there's always more you can learn about any job, but that's our core. That's what we do the most of. And being able to partner with others on different parts of our business, different areas, that gets into more fun, where you say, okay, I didn't know this about that. And you start working with other teams and creating and developing things that can be a benefit to the workforce, to the development of people and communities around you. That's a fun component of what I get to do, and others that have land that's available. We're in an area that's growing and continuing to grow, and I feel some of the citrus and other ag lands have kind of preserved some of these areas, and we're going to have to be mindful of how that looks going forward. But it's going to continue to change. Right.
Well, again, having land available for agriculture and other production is extremely important, and we want to see that continue to be prosperous too. And,
sure.
And I'm very hopeful of what the future looks like as I read about the citrus and agriculture in general. So we want to be there with you as an organization, and we definitely appreciate your leadership, at the company, but also at the CFDC, and it's been very impactful. So how would, someone get in touch with you or to reach, or your team to learn more about BHG?
BHG's not really out there online, but our components are. So you can find Griffin Fertilizer online. You can find the Frostproof Business Park online, and you can find Ben Hill Griffin's nursery online. So our service pieces are out there for people to be able to find. As a company, we're kind of low key.
Well, sometimes that's best, and people know how to find you anyways. Right. So, well, I definitely appreciate your willingness to be with us here today, Emery, and answering some questions, and thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.